There are hundreds of Yaoi and Yuri titles out there, but I think I found the final boss of doomed Yaoi and Yuri. Say hello to Alien Stage, an independent 12-part YouTube epic which begs the question, how much can I cry in a 45-minute period? Despite being a passion project without a massive studio behind it, Alien Stage has become a beloved cult classic, racking up over 200 million views on YouTube alone. Alien Stage is also one of my highest requested anime y'all have asked me to watch, so today, your wish is my command. From everything I've heard, it looks absolutely amazing, so I am super excited to get into it. If you'd like to see the extended director's cut of today's review, it is now available on my Patreon, which is linked up here in the description and pinned in the comments. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Before I get into my review, I wanted to go over some of my initial thoughts and what I know about this series so far. So I know that this is a musical YouTube short series, I know that it is incredibly well loved, and I also know that there is a big LGBTQ element to it. I've also slightly been spoiled that there is some questionable SA, so I'm definitely gonna have some thoughts on those aspects. I don't really know much about this other than those aspects, but I do know that this will absolutely break my heart. So I am very much looking forward to enduring that pain. We'll see how I feel about this by the end of it. Instead of doing a general review, we are instead going to be breaking this down round by round, so I can better dissect what's going on here. I have watched the series 3 times and also read all of the background material and comics available on Vivinos's Patreon for more background information. Time to strap in and explore this one-of-a-kind anime. Starting off with round 1. This one absolutely ripped my heart out. I think it's pretty clear that Suwa sacrificed herself for Mizi. In Karma, Mizi talks about how her love was different from Suwa's. What I think they meant by different was that Suwa was willing to sacrifice herself for Mizi, but not the other way around. Suwa even practiced losing on purpose every night. Even though Mizi knew about this, she didn't have the heart to tell Suwa because she knew deep down that she didn't have it in her to also sacrifice herself. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing or that she should be villainized for this choice. I respect Suwa's decision to take herself out so she wouldn't have to live without Mizi, but I also respect Mizi's decision to keep living on without Suwa. This is the one that broke me right off the bat. I cried a lot every single time I watched this episode. It does such a wonderful job of showing just how soul-crushingly devastating it is to grow up in this type of environment where you live, train, thrive, and fight with your eventual competition. Up next is Alien Stage, which summarizes the main thesis of this series. It's one of those segments that seems like an innocuous anime opening, but upon rewatch, the layers start to reveal themselves and you realize with horror just how much it foreshadows. I have never been so grateful for a YouTube comment section for helping break down the messaging after watching the full series and coming back to rewatch this segment. Round 2 is whiplash compared to the first. Unlike round 1, you go into it knowing that yes, one of these performers is not going to survive. The even more shocking component is when you realize that this is supposed to be a duet, but Till says f it and starts performing his own song instead of the duet. This action is not only taking control of his life, but sentences his partner to death. Growing up, Till was cared for by his mother, aka provider, but severely abused by his guardian Urok, who raised his pets to be good competitors. However, due to the abuse and mental instability he inflicted, none of his pets ever won Alien Stage. Till was no exception and lashed out constantly during his time at Enoch Garden. I really see this round as him taking back control of his life and screaming into the void for all of the years of pain he suffered just for this useless fucking competition. This was also a way for him to finally confess his feelings for Mizi, which I doubt she even registered since she was dissociating to the point where she couldn't even lift her head after the loss of Sua. There is one component near the end of the song that was left up for interpretation, but explained later on their Patreon. Till lifts up his guitar and destroys it, revealing a fountain of guts. When I first watched this, I assumed that this was some kind of guitar alien hybrid that he destroyed, but upon rewatch and researching it, it's revealed that he actually unalived his competition, and that is why he automatically won this round. Round 3 might be the most devastating round for me. Before being transferred to Enoch Garden, Ivan was a child who had been used and abused his whole life. He was plucked from the slums by his guardian Unsha, who searched far and wide for profitable competitors to make his mafia-tied businesses appear legitimate. Ivan wasn't abused like some of his competitors, but he was severely neglected. He was seen as a product by Unsha, who invested and promoted him his whole life to build a popularity base, gain sponsorships, and be used as a means to further Unsha's brand. By the time he joined the school, he was truly dead inside. But then, something lit a spark within him and slowly brought him back to life for the first time. And this someone was Till. This toxic one-sided love story developed to the point where Ivan even escaped the school with Till, only for Till to turn back because he couldn't leave without Mizi. Since Till is the only thing that gives him life, Ivan sacrifices his freedom and goes back with him. Ivan understands that as much as he loves him, Till will never love him back. The most tragic aspect of this that we learned during our rewatch is that if only Ivan had left without Till, he would still be alive. But without Till, he had no reason to live, which becomes even more evident in their next round. Round 5 is fucking intense with the introduction of Luca. The biggest aspect that sets him apart from the rest of the cast is that Luca has already won Alien Stage, and he's back to reclaim his crown. He's learned how to thrive in this system and uses every tool at his disposal to make it to the top, no matter who he hurts. His competition is the deeply traumatized Mizi, who is drowning in grief and barely present throughout this performance. Luca starts cruelly provoking her during the performance, reminding her of Sua's sacrifice and throwing her death in Mizi's face. I was so torn on whether this was a manipulative dig to get Mizi to lose her cool so he can make her too emotional to be able to perform her best, or if some part of Luca saw her drowning and understood that she needed a shock to the system in order to check back into the competition. Maybe he didn't want her to die. Either way, it works, and not only does she lock back in the game, but she locks in on him and ends up beating the shit out of him. I know there's a lot of hate towards Luca, but I'm not sure if I buy into it. After all, he is just as much of a victim as the rest of the kids, and maybe even more so since he literally cannot escape the system, even after winning the competition and being granted the so-called freedom that was promised for winning. Mizi Sua is the next video, which isn't an official round but shows the first interaction between Mizi and Sua. The two had dramatically different upbringings, with Mizi being loved and cared for, and Sua just being treated like a doll by her guardian. They first meet while being transported to the school and develop a strong connection. As this segment ends, it's revealed that this was just a dream that Mizi had, which I have two theories series about. I think this was a core memory between the two that did happen, but I also think this might have been Sua's way of connecting with Mizi on her way out of this world. Maybe even just as a way to check in with her and remind her of the love they had that will always linger, just like that memory. Next up is All In, which was truly a breath of fresh air between all of the carnage. It shows what life is like outside of the control of Alien Stage and how Hyuna and Mizi are able to thrive and be themselves. I found that the most powerful component is how Hyuna is able to reclaim singing for herself. Growing up in a Nukt garden, singing has been treated like a survival weapon that will determine their fate. But in the outside world, she's able to sing for herself and find the joy and beauty of that. All In also introduces the setup for the eventual takeover that the two and their group of outlaws are planning. Round 6 is such a tragic shit show. You have Ivan versus the one person who he loves more than anything in the world. Till is emotionally destroyed throughout the song, as the whereabouts of Mizi are unknown and his love has disappeared into the ether, most likely never to be seen again. Because of this, he's not able to perform to his best ability, and when Ivan recognizes this, he does the unthinkable. When I first watched this act, I could not believe my eyes. First, Ivan forces a kiss on Till, and when Till rejects his advances, he actively strangles him until he is shot and unalived. I know that this is a toxic love, but I didn't realize that Ivan was this selfish to try to unalive his love so at least the two of them could be together in the afterlife. But upon rewatch, I realized that when Ivan strangles him, he doesn't actually leave any marks, which means he only did this so that Till's score would climb and that Till would win. That is why Till looks so horrified and devastated by Ivan's actions, and why Ivan looks so content as his life drains out of him. With every single death in this series, there is always someone crying for their lifeless partner. There is always someone there to grieve the other. But no one grieves for Ivan. No one cries for Ivan. He started out alone in this world, and he died alone in this world. And now I have officially started crying throughout the rest of the series. After every tragic round and backstory, we finally make it to the final, which proves just how different Luca and Till are, as competitors and as people. Since Luca supposedly turned down his chance for freedom, since he didn't escape after he won the first time, it is clear that he purely wants to win for the glory and status. At least, that's what I initially thought about him, until I learned more about him on Patreon. Luca was adopted by his guardian Heparu, for the sole purpose of winning Alien Stage. Heparu tortured and induced pain, equivalent to when the heart stops in Luca during the whole training process. That is also why Luca is obsessed with heartbeats. Luca never had a choice on whether to compete or not, which is why he entered a second time. He was a prop for his guardian and developed survival skills devoid of emotion so he could stay alive. So, like in round 5, he uses every underhanded tool in his toolkit to strike Till right where it hurts. While Luca is living his best life, Till is fighting for his life. And tragically, this is all in vain as Luca ends up winning the competition. During the final moments of this episode, Till sees Mizi in the crowd and is able to connect with her, and then is shot and supposedly unalived. Weege just continues to twist the knife because the audience for wanting any of these characters to have a happy ending. We go back in time and see how each one of these kids lived growing up. It was really interesting to see just how destructive of a child Luca was and still is. he ended countless lives, including Hyuna's sibling, without batting an eye. After learning more about him, I understand why he was such a violent child. It does not excuse his actions, but I do understand why he is the way that he is. Same with Ivan. When we come back to the present, we finally see him snap back into reality when he sees Hyuna. Okay, so this next part really pissed me off because I will never understand why the Resistance still decided to fire at him, even though Hyuna literally got in the way of him and the bullet, completely unaliving her. Like, you guys had time to not shoot her, and yet you still shot her. Like, what the fuck are you doing? The series finale, Karma, was hands down my favorite episode of the entire project. Not only because it was longer, but because of the incredible art direction, voice acting, music. Like, it was really all there to fill in the pieces and give us the ending we deserved. We learned so much from the fact that Mizi and Luca survived. While Mizi is now an outlaw on the run, Luca is unsurprisingly once again caught in the machine that is Alien Stage. The most horrifying aspect is that after the tragedy that was the Alien Stage final, a new crop of children were cloned from our cast and are all being raised for the next round of Alien Stage. There is a hope though, as a mysterious figure breaks into Anocht Garden and frees the children. I know all of his fans were crying in relief when this was revealed that it was actually Till who did in fact survive the finale. I've been thinking about this series for weeks now, and every time I return to it, I am drawn even deeper into it. Alien Stage is one of those series that stays with you. If you'd like even more lore, I would highly recommend checking out the official Patreon for Vivinos, which I will link here. Especially since this was a small independent production, I cannot recommend joining their Patreon highly enough so that you can support their efforts for this truly incredible series. You can watch the entire series on YouTube and also stream all of these songs on streaming platforms across the board. Shout out to all of the musicians, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing this well. Vivinos, BL8M, Rubai, Akugetsu, S. Fu, Sina, and Park Byung-hun. After much thought and reflection, as much as I want to give this a perfect score because it is a masterpiece, just because I wanted more parts to have certain stories expanded on, I've decided to give Alien Stage a 9 out of 10. If you'd like to see the extended review where I dive even deeper on Alien Stage, I have it up on my Patreon, which you can access here or in the description. Shout out to all of my Patreon producers, including Sakura Sky, Karen Miriam Goldberg, Jeff Friend, Horsey Bread, and a special shout out to Legion Zero. I am still searching for anime to watch for next month, so comment below what anime you would like me to watch. Otherwise, I'm just gonna watch School Days for the first time and it's gonna be a fucking shit show. Next video will be on September 6th and kicks off a 2-part series I've been working very hard on, which explores age gaps and consent in queer anime. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank y'all so much for sticking around, and I'll see all of y'all on the next one.